Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Kabir Considers. In this video, we're going to react to the craziest athlete in NFL history. Now, this is quite a bold claim because the NFL has had quite a lot of people who, they're not quite the full dollar, if you know what I mean. They're not quite the full quid, as we would say in the UK. Whether it's because of all the impacts they take to the head, whether it's because maybe the kind of person that can make it into the NFL, they're generally not going to be completely of sound mind. So, there's definitely a higher proportion of people that are a little bit kooky, shall we say, in the NFL. So to be the number one, the most, out there, the most deranged footballer of all time, this guy must be something special.
This year has been one of the best NFL seasons in recent memory. If you haven't gone yet, I absolutely suggest you check out a game. The 2 games I went to this year were incredible, and you can experience the same thing through SeatGeek. SeatGeek puts tickets from all across the web into one single area: work ethic. Something all of us think we have, yet most of us lack. The idea of pushing yourself to your limits. Not your coaches, your teachers, your boss, or even your parents. It's all about you. For all the current and former athletes out there watching this video, imagine how hard you worked out during the summer after 8th grade. This was when you were still a kid enjoying your summers and practice didn't start until August. What were you really doing on your own? How hard did you actually work out?
Probably not much, honestly. 8th grade, that's like a 13-year-old. You just want to go home and play video games.
I didn't grow up, my parents didn't have a lot of money. My high school didn't have
Is this Herschel Walker?
a lot of money to afford a lot of the expensive weights and, all this stuff. And I didn't use that as an excuse. I started doing push-ups and sit-ups during commercials as I was watching TV, and started doing about, sometimes 2,000 push-ups, 3,000 sit-ups,
Really?
1,500 pull-ups, dips, or 1,000 dips, and different things like that. And I started creating different hand positions for all that, and then
I'm sorry, he wasn't doing 1,500 push-ups. There's no way. There ain't no way.
learned that can work you out.
Herschel Walker will always be a football legend. I never actually saw him play, but like Bo Jackson, the aura surrounding this dude almost makes him not seem real. Much like the title of this video, the stories about Herschel Walker sound so ridiculous and impossible, you would say there's no way. But then you see how jacked he is at 56.
You got a legendary workout. How many sit-ups and push-ups?
I'm still doing about 1,500 push-ups, about 3,500 sit-ups every day, so I'm still working out.
For me,
How is that possible, though? The amount of time that would... Is it even... I can't imagine. 1,500 push-ups?
I don't know what to believe anymore. So here, let me share with you the legend of Herschel Walker.
Well, growing up, I was not that athletic, and I had a speech impediment. So to be a person that was not athletic, having a speech impediment, I had a lot of kids that made fun of me.
As a kid, he was overweight, clumsy, and had a hard time speaking. He was picked on so much that it's done serious mental damage. He has said publicly that he's wanted to kill people, and he was eventually diagnosed with DID, which is otherwise known as multiple personality disorder. As a teenager, after constantly getting beat up as one of the only black kids at his school, one day, he snapped. He was done taking that punishment, so he began a dedicated and downright insane workout regime. Some of the workouts he did included running around his school's dirt track dragging a tire, or maybe trying to outrun trains. But what he did while watching TV was the craziest part. He said that during commercial breaks, he decided that he would do push-ups and sit-ups. At first, he couldn't even do a push-up, but he worked his way up to where he could do 25 a night, then 50, then 100. He increased his reps until he was doing 2,000 push-ups and 2,000 sit-ups a day. I know you're thinking, yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's no way that some kid just randomly started doing that many push-ups and sit-ups every day. Well, over one summer, going into 9th grade, he went from the chubby, clumsy, timid kid to one of the fastest and strongest kids in the state of Georgia.
I mean, there's no doubt that he transformed himself, but surely 2,000 push-ups in a day, that's got to be like a world record. Like, that has to be. Like, the most I've ever done in one day, I think, is like 100. And I was so sore. Like, I know some of you are going to be thinking, oh, Kabir, you're so soft, blah, blah. I thought 100's still quite a lot. So to do 2,000...
Herschel would go on to be dominant as a high school athlete. Not only did he rush for over 3,000 yards his senior year, helping his team win state, but in track and field, he was the Georgia state champion in the 100, 200, the 4x4 relay, and the shot put. Yeah, the best thrower in the state is also the fastest dude in the state. That's borderline impossible. He would go on to the University of Georgia, where he became arguably the most dominant SEC player ever.
Really?
Hand it off to Herschel. There's a hole. 5, 10, 12. He's running over people. Herschel Walker. My God almighty, he ran
That was a
through
nice
2
one.
men.
They get to Walker, and he's got the first down, and he's still up. Herschel Walker at the 45. He's gone.
Reminds me a bit of Barry Sanders, like just those dominant runs that just bust through people that can't be stopped.
After being told that he should have won the Heisman as a freshman and sophomore, he finally won it his junior year, amassing over 5,000 rushing yards and over 50 total touchdowns in his 3-year career. Herschel was a 2-time All-American as a collegiate sprinter. He did eventually make the Olympics. Well, not in sprints, but in bobsledding of all things. That was years down the road though. Going back to after his junior year at Georgia, Herschel made the decision to turn pro.
Now the men's 60-yard dash.
To be fair, the guy is incredible. I think after he finished playing football, he came to the UFC and like had a sort of short UFC career, like in his late 40s, and he still looked jacked, incredible shape. So to be fair, he is a freak athlete. He is.
The world and American record is
But still,
6.04.
2,000 push-ups a night, I'm still not buying it. Are you?
Held by Stanley Floyd, who is in lane 1. He has won here the last 2 years, but he will be challenged by a pair of football players. Ron Brown of Arizona State, also the defending national champion in this event, and the Heisman Trophy winner, Herschel Walker in lane 5 from the University of Georgia. Herschel, 6'1", 220 pounds. His hands behind the line, Frank.
The only thing I can think of is that Herschel's a little superstitious, because if he wanted to, he could simply move his blocks forward and be in the same position.
It is a fair start. It is Herschel Walker and Ron Brown. It is Brown. It is Walker. It is Ron Brown. Running away from Herschel Walker is Stanley Floyd, 2-time defending champion, got lost
What was
in
the
the
time?
pack.
How about
What
your
was the
shoulder? I
time?
know that's been bothering you. Has it hampered you getting ready for this track season?
Well, it's been sore a great deal. It's got a lot of soreness in it, but I've been trying to get myself ready because I realized that that was a big step if you're planning on making the Olympics, and that was a big step if you're planning on beating these guys.
It's incredible. So the guy just multifaceted, you know, run, throwing, fighting, obviously.
The United States
well-rounded.
Football League was ready to start its first season. Herschel Walker would end up becoming one of the first major stars that they acquired. He's one of the main reasons that Donald Trump ended up buying the New Jersey Generals. In the 3 years that the league
The New Jersey Generals. Is that what the Jets used to be called? I'm guessing that must be it.
existed, Herschel would easily run for the most yards, including over 2,400 in 1985. After the USFL dissolved, the Dallas Cowboys had acquired the rights to Herschel Walker. To this point, before they ended up trading him to Minnesota in what became known as the most lopsided trade in NFL history. The Vikings gave up 5 players, 3 first-round picks, and 3 second-round picks in exchange for Herschel Walker and some throwaway picks. This move helped build the Cowboys' dynasty with getting guys like Emmitt Smith and Darren Woodson, while the Vikings would underutilize Herschel Walker for 3 years and then he left. It's weird because Minnesota gave up so much to get him, yet they didn't make him the focal point of their offense.
Bit weird. Like, what was the strategy there? Surely if you're giving up that much, he's going to be the focal point, and you have a plan. You got a plan of how to use him. Quite odd.
After the Vikings, he did end up bouncing back.
Did his shoe
with the
come
Eagles.
off?
Oh, plus in 1992, that was the year that he was on the U.S. Olympic bobsled team. They actually did really well, placing in the top 8. By the end of his football career, Herschel had become sort of a journeyman, and after 12 years in the NFL, he finished in the top 10 all-time in all-purpose yards while playing 7 different positions. He only ran for over 1,000 yards twice in his NFL career, and I think that's part of the reason why some people never feel like he lived up to the hype. But look at it this way, he played 3 dominant seasons in the USFL, and when you add his numbers together from both leagues, it's just absurd. Plus, Dallas ran him into the ground his 3rd year in the NFL. At this point, that would have been 6 pro football seasons. Most running backs go on the decline anyway. Herschel nearly played in...
Wow, so running backs only last a few seasons in the NFL. Why? Like, seems quite short considering other positions like quarterback. You know, you got guys like Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, you know, what's the guy at the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers, that are playing for like 15 years plus.
Another decade after that. That's not easy to do. I also noticed that he almost never got hurt. In all but one season, he appeared in every single game. That's actually quite remarkable for anyone, especially a guy like him who's more of a bruising type of player. After his football days, Herschel had nothing to channel his anger that he had since he was a teenager. So he did crazy things like playing Russian roulette.
What?
When I talk about the Russian roulette, people say you're trying to kill yourself. I no, that's not, no, because that's against what I believe in. I said what it was is if you came to my house and said you want to challenge me at something, and you know everybody always want to challenge me. Everybody want to challenge me. It's like, why? And I say, okay, then if you want to challenge me, you're tough enough. Let me see you pull this here. Pull this trigger here. Put a bullet in and spin it. People go, you're crazy. I would take it and put it to my head and snap it.
I'm sorry, man. That there is nothing. You could not pay me to play that game. You could not pay me, $1 billion, maybe. But still, I don't know. I don't know if I could do it. Could you? Would you do it for $1 billion?
He also stuck to his daily formula of getting up at 5:30 a.m. to do in the ballpark of 750 to 1,500 push-ups and about 2,000 sit-ups. Also, here's another thing I found. Apparently, since Herschel was 18, he's only been eating 1 meal a day. Yeah, he gets up, works his guts out, and then doesn't eat till dinner. Every day. Just think of how most people work out and live their life into their 40s and 50s. Maybe go run, maybe golf. When Herschel was nearing the age of 50, he decided he wanted to become an MMA fighter. Javier Mendez, a mixed martial arts teacher, thought that it was a joke. Imagining this old dude walking and saying that he wants to become a fighter? No way.
If it was anybody else that was 50 years old that said he wanted to fight, I'd be like, man, you got to stop. Anybody else, I would say, I don't want to see that. Anybody else. If it's Herschel Walker, I'm like, where do I sign up?
You're too high, sir.
It's too high. Where do I sign up?
You're too high.
No, dude.
50's 50.
You saw him when he was 47.
He's a stud.
Jacked.
By the age of 56, Herschel had been a state champion in the shot put and sprints in the same year. Possibly the most dominant running back in SEC history, a 2-time All-American sprinter in college, the greatest player in the history of the USFL.
But even still, at 50, even though it's Herschel Walker, like, it's still kind of risky going into the UFC at that age because of all of the cumulative damage that the football has done to his brain potentially.
A 2-time Pro Bowler in the NFL, a Winter Olympian, a ballet dancer, a back-to-back champion in the show Superstars, an undefeated MMA fighter, a 5th degree black belt in Taekwondo, still stands around 225 pounds, and apparently still runs around a 4.3 40. He's even hinted a comeback to the NFL when he was 50, saying that he wanted to be the George Foreman of football. He once said, quote, "I'm 48 and in better shape now than I was when I was in my early 20s playing football."
My last fight, a reporter asked me the question. He said, "Herschel, why are you doing this? You don't need money and stuff." And I said, "Guys, I don't do stuff for money. I said, I do it to beat people up. That's what I do it for."
Herschel Walker became the shining example of how to use anger to fuel your competitive edge. He's that perfect crossover between superior athletic genetics and insane work ethic. Push-ups a day. The crazy part is, I didn't even mention all the other things that he does besides push-ups and sit-ups. When you watch this video and think to yourself, this stuff isn't believable, If someone else claimed this, I probably wouldn't trust
Yeah,
them. But for this dude to look the way he does now, and with everything that he's accomplished, how could you not believe him?
Carson in the blue gloves, a little anxious to get things started, and why not? And Walker already getting into the zone. And nails Carson immediately. And that he wanted to showcase more of his stand-up stuff.
Ground and pound.
Through the cage, out on the deck. His corner man grabbed the mouthpiece.
And Walker.
Oh! Dude's a beast. Okay. Yeah, he's definitely a freak athlete for sure. For sure. I mean, I still am skeptical about the 2,000 push-ups a day thing. To do that many push-ups, man, like surely after you get to a few hundred, the lactic acid is just, you can't do anything more. But then maybe he's a freak athlete, so maybe he just is able to do that many. He clearly is in insane shape for his age, and to do that many sports at such a high level, he's definitely not your run-of-the-mill athlete. To go into the UFC in your late 40s, when most people have retired long before that, most people retire from the UFC in their mid-30s. So yeah, crazy, one-of-a-kind athlete. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoy my videos, please help me out by liking and subscribing.